Hey, and welcome to Board with Life News for July 26th. Today I'm going to talk about Keppler 3042, Gang Rush Breakout, Nickelodeon Splat Attack, an expansion for Terraforming Mars, as well as the Kickstarter for Spiel Press Roll and Write Gamebooks. Let's get to it. Hey, I'm Chris. Welcome to Board with Life News. Up first, Renegade Game Studios announced that they're going to be bringing Keppler 3042 to market. This was actually a Kickstarter that funded in 2016, and I guess they've picked it up and are going to do a full overhaul of it in the game. You're traveling around the Milky Way trying to colonize, explore, exploit, and terraform planets. The biggest thing it looks like they did is they did a complete art overhaul with art by Kwanchai Moria, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Renegade's obviously a studio that people have been really enjoying lately and talking about as kind of a big up-and-coming thing, and their art direction has been incredible. Kwanchai's been doing a great job, first with flip ships for them, and now with this, so looks really good. Simon Games announced Gang Rush Breakout. This is a 3 to 5 player racing game that looks kind of like Road Rash, if you ever played that old Sega Genesis game, where your cars and you're on, it said a 3D suspension bridge, so I don't know what that's actually going to look like. They didn't have any pictures of it. But your cars with asymmetric powers, and you're trying to like knock each other into obstacles and stuff, and you can buy upgrades along the way and all sorts of that kind of stuff. So it seems like a lot of fun mayhem. It's based around a dice rolling mechanic like Yahtzee or King of Tokyo or whatever. So it seems like a pretty light, fun, silly game. I'm really interested to see what the 3D suspension bridge is, though, because that seems really weird. IDW Games announced Nickelodeon Splat Attack. This is a game taking all of your classic Nickelodeon characters like Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy and Rocco and SpongeBob and SquarePants, both SpongeBob and his SquarePants. And you're taking part in a giant food fight amongst, all of these different old cartoon characters. Apparently it's going to have plastic miniatures, so you can finally have that Stimpy plastic miniature you've been dreaming for. I don't know if it actually has Stimpy in it, but, whatever. So that sounds like a fun way to use a license. Instead of making a bunch of, like, little games for all these different licenses, just mashing them all together and having kind of like a nostalgia food fight sounds pretty fun to me. It's supposed to be out spring 2018. Stronghold announced its second expansion for Terraforming Mars, and this is called Venus Next. I'm not even positive their first expansion's out yet. If it is out, it just came out. And this one, they said, should be out by the end of the year, so they're really churning through expansions really fast on this. It seems like Stronghold had a big hit with Terraforming Mars, so they're mining that for all it can handle. Sort of halfway pun intended. But anyways, in this one, players are going to be building flying cities and adjusting the atmosphere on Mars to make it more on Venus to make it more livable. It has a bunch of new project cards and all that kind of stuff, but mainly it's got a Venus board, so now you get to go to Venus, which is exciting, I guess, if you're into terraforming things. This week's Kickstarter is for Spiel Press Roll and Write Gamebooks. These are an interesting idea where they're roll and write games, where you roll dice and then write things down on a piece of paper, but they're in books, and with that, some of the books, it's kind of like a campaign mode or something like that, where like what you do in one game can affect future pages of the book. So that's a really cool idea. They're two separate books. The first one is Star Maps, which you are trying to discover and map the cosmos, and the second one is Blood Royals, where you're trying to ascend to the throne through power and manipulation and all that kind of stuff. It seems like a really cool idea. I really like the idea that like as you go it changes and there's a little bit of a campaign mode and stuff like that, so it'll be interesting to see how these do. You can back them right now for $17 for one book or $30 for both books. Alright, that's the news. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to this page. Make sure you follow me on social media. I'm at Chris Bryan Games on Instagram and Twitter. And make sure you check out my Patreon, because my Patreon backers are the best. There's links in the description below to that. So, this week's question comes from at Chromus via Twitter, and they ask, how many plays before you feel you have a great grasp of a game's mechanisms, strategy, and balance? That really depends on the game a lot. Where there are certain games like Dominion that if I'm using expansions and randomizing cards and stuff, most of the fun of that game for me is that I'm still trying to figure out kind of how all these things work together, because there's so many different possible combinations and so many options. I'm constantly still finding new little fun things, even though I've played that game, if you count digital plays, like probably 1,000 times. So that game a whole lot, right? I guess I understood after maybe 3 or 4 plays kind of the basic way how everything worked, but the exploration's fun in that one. a game like Sushi Go that I like a lot, I can read the rules and I can already understand the strategy and how it plays and all that kind of stuff. So that one 0 plays. Like, I can do that without playing it. Then there are games like Terraforming Mars, where I've only played that game twice, and that game is one that I know I'm nowhere near to like mastering the strategy or anything like that, but I also know with my groups and the type of games I play, I'm never going to play that game enough to really ever feel like I have a hold on that strategy, just because it's a much bigger and longer game than we normally play and things like that. So while I think it's a good design, it's not a game that I'm interested in ever getting to the point where I have a mastery of it. But I know that's what a bunch of people love about it, because there are so many different things, and you can kind of like still figure out all this stuff. But it's just too big and bulky for me. So after 2 plays, I can say like, I'll never get that one. That's fine with me. I remember an example, I think it was A Few Acres of Snow. I was playing, and I thought for sure I had the strategy, and I was just like, I thought it was for sure broken. I don't remember which. I know that that game is like famously broken. There's a dominant strategy in it, and I can't remember if it's the French or the British that have the dominant strategy, but I had the opposite one. Like, I had the one that loses if the other person's playing the dominant strategy. No, I'm sorry. I had the one that wins if you're playing the dominant strategy. I didn't know what it was. But I was like, this game is broken. There's no way my guy could ever win. Clearly that other team is way better, when it's actually the literal opposite of that. So I felt like I had the strategy and balance of that game, but obviously I didn't at all. So it really depends. It probably is somewhere between 2 and 5 plays. If it's more than 5 plays and it's a game that is kind of quick and light, I usually really like that. If it's more than 5 plays and it's a game that's big and heavy, I'm probably never going to get there. So yeah, it really depends on the game itself. But I mean, if you're 5 plays into a game, you should probably have a pretty good grasp of kind of how things are working together. But yeah. All right, that's the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.